Morning, Zooms. Can you? Well done as well. Can you hear me okay if I'm here and here? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Good sound, bad sound. Anyone hear me? Can you hear me? Sound good? Sound bad? Sound good. Great. And if I'm back here, still sounds good? Great. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that very much. If anything goes wrong with the sound, jump around. Something like that. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to start in Tadasana. So we're going to start in Tadasana with the feet apart. Arms by the sides. We're going to check that the toes are level, straight ahead, not turned out, not turned in, and that the toes are spread enjoyably. Shoulders are down. Breath is through the nose, if you can. Body is alert and relaxed. So let's start with relaxed. Body is relaxed. Body is alert, like awake, in a gentle, in a relaxed way. And you might want to scan through the body from the floor up to bring that awakeness. So start from the floor up. I like to move my feet. I lift and land and spread the toes repeatedly. And as we're feeling through the feet, we can feel through the calf muscles, the shin bones, through the back of the thighs, which can gently support from behind by moving forwards, and the front of the thighs that can gently release the back of the thighs by softly rising upwards. The gluteal creases, where the bum and thigh meet, softly cut in. It's called cutting in, where the crease just goes a little deeper, and as a result, the thighs lift up above that gluteal crease. So gluteal crease is deep, thighs rising. And I think you'll find when the gluteal crease is deepened and the thighs rise that the chest rises naturally, and then the breath releases. And because everything is everything in yoga, when the breath releases, so does the mind. So does any attachments, any worries, any concerns, any expectations. They all get replaced by this. And it's so important, isn't it, to keep refreshing the mind. The mind gets, sensitive people like you, like me, where the mind gets caught in things. So you've got to keep refreshing it. You've got to, like it's got to be new all the time. And you do that by letting this moment in. That's all you got to do. Let this moment in. So as we're breathing deep, we're feeling the feet on the floor, perhaps reiterating. I've been reiterating my foot contact all the time I've been talking. We've got the back of the thighs deep, the front of the thighs gently rising. We've got the gluteal creases deep, a little deeper, and then just underneath the gluteal crease at the front of the thigh, that's a rising up. That happens naturally, and that leads to the chest rising. And that leads to the breath releasing. And as the breath releases, so does the mind. And as the mind releases, so does the tension that it can create in the body to do with expectation, anticipation, presumption, assumption, worries, concerns, doubts. All of this is mind generated and is purified, you could say, by the moment. Raise the arms up when you're ready. Keep the tummy lightly toned. Breathe through your nose if you can. And move the body in any way that helps to bring everything together. So I've always thought that together is a really good translation of the word yoga, simply based on all the different translations that you can find in different contexts. They all seem to allude to together. So as you move left or right or forwards or backwards, you're streaming together the various fibers of the lower back of the tummy. We're making sure our necks have spaciousness and flow. The breath is expressive and honest. And perhaps you can feel a lovely stability or support or encouragement at the pelvic floor. So lovely, it's so simple. It's like a reminder, it's like a guiding hand just saying, stay in the center. Don't get caught up in the peripheral channels that represent habituation. You know, like grasping, reaching out, worry, concern, all of that. The central channel is the middle. So you let the moment in, you really feel the moment. That draws you into the central channel. We're going to bend the ankles, knees, and hips. It's going to stretch the calcaneus tendons. We're going to reach right the way down to the floor. So you bend as much as you need to. Breathe through your nose. Perhaps you can feel, I'm sure you can feel your back muscles stretching over the rib cage. Then there's various movements, for example, of the heels. You might lift one heel and then the other. You're letting go of the breath. And consequently, whatever the mind has taken hold of. So as the moment comes in, it wants us to release whatever the mind has taken hold of. And as yogins, we've learned to trust that that's the right thing to do. And that we are always better off open. It's never useful to carry debris and detritus, dragging it over from the past. It's always the best thing to do to be open, completely open. So you do that by letting out. Now we're going to bend the knees a little bit more until the ribs touch the thighs, and then raise the arms up behind you like you're skiing so aerodynamically. Then bring the arms forwards and along the floor to whatever height, squat or udkata that you want, or, you know, and it can be multifarious. You might play with different movements, different heights. You might be up, you might be down, you might be low, you might be high, you might be middle, you might be all of them. But it's a meditation. That's the only thing that matters, is that it's a meditation. And then we're standing slowly but strongly all the way back up, taking a wide circle, hands on the hips, stepping the feet apart, catching some really deep breaths, really expressive deep breaths, just checking the toes, equidistant from the front of the mat. Turn the left toes in, right foot and leg out on the ball of the foot, and we finish off the turn on the heel. That leaves us with heel to arch alignment. Stretching the arms, bending the knee, leaning gently back, raising up, looking up. Not holding the breath, expressive, playful, investigative. I do things, for example, like lifting my heel of the front foot or toes of the back foot, or any other variation that works for you in terms of integration. Light tone into tone is reiterated. And then slowly we bring our elbow down to the leg for Pajmakonasana, palm facing up, looking up, stretching up if you want, maybe over if you want. Definitely not holding the breath. So, you know, this is the way out. Years ago, one of my worst ever metaphors was the NCP car park metaphor. Some of you might remember. And it was the idea that, you know, NCP car parks, other car parks are available, would only let cars in and they forgot to open the exit. And very soon you'd get log jam and so on. Similarly with the human being, with the nervous system, if we only let things in and we never let them out, we've got a problem. So the letting out happens through the breath, here and now. Okay, arm down, palm down, inhale, come up. Feet forwards, hands to hips, breathing through the nose. Deep expressive breaths. Pelvic floor, buoyant. Meaning there's a sort of light lift that supports energy staying in the central channel. Back toes in, front foot and leg out on the ball of the foot, finish off the turn on the heel. So we've got heel to arch alignment, which we'll check, always check. Check as well that your back toes have actually turned in. You can always check. And then bend your knee, lean back, raise up. This is the Viparita Virabhadra, the reversed or You have the inverted Vira, hero, Bhadra, good hero. So investigative movement, breath centered, beyond ideation, coming down when ready. Pajva Konasana, bottom ribs forwards, stretch up, maybe up and over. Just this microphone. Maybe up and over. Natural, investigative, and the purpose of investigation is to disappear. So movements that we take should absorb us more. I've compared it to mopping up water with a clean cloth. And you move the cloth around and the water absorbs into the tiny holes in the cloth that previously had gases in, and now the water's in those holes. And so it's absorbed, completely absorbed. We're going to windmill down, rotate the back heel, step the front foot back, and really plant the palms into the yoga mat. Really plant the palms into the yoga mat. Deep, expressive, and honest breath. Jaw passive. Moving left, moving right, really feeling your way in. Moving left, moving right, really feeling your way in, particularly into the palms. So we're looking for a holistic contact, which in itself is meditative. Because when you're wholly letting this moment in, then you have to, it's natural to let whatever got stuck in there, and as I said before, people that practice yoga are usually, we're normally sensitive people. So we pick stuff up. Right? So sensitivity is a wonderful thing, unless you pick up so much stuff that you get overwhelmed, or if this can block the system. So sensitive people really need to let it out by letting it in. Okay, coming down to regular kneeling, for which we can use and should use a block if our knees are tight. We can use a blanket underneath the front ankles if they're tight. One hand on top of the other, perhaps a little rolling on the front shin muscles, and the calf muscles, of course, get massaged, and several other muscles too. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft, throat soft, tongue soft. Releasing our hands and laying on our backs with hands under the head. So very simple. Breath through the nose if you can. It slows, warms, filters, and hydrates the incoming breath. Temples softening, eyes relaxed, all is well. I don't know if anyone told you that yet this morning or today. All is well. Thinking mind is quite good at going, no, but I can scan through and find plenty of things that aren't well, but I'm talking about right now, right here, in this very moment. And of course, anything right now, we can think about things that are not well, but they're not right now, are they? Right here and now. That's what I'm talking about when I say everything's well. So just check that, see if that's true. So gravity seems to be working okay. Breath is coming and going fine. Release is happening by itself because we're gradually relaxing, and therefore letting the moment in. When we're not relaxed, we resist the moment. But when we relax, the moment comes in, and the moment is the purifier. Comes in, whatever our sensitivities have latched onto, taken hold of. That's wonderful to be sensitive, but you've got to keep the system clean, clear, running. Let's lift the feet up when we're ready. So lift the feet up. Breathe through your nose if you can. Feel relaxed enough to move any way that feels good. And normally what feels good is what feels releasing, isn't it? So releasing, breathing, releasing. We're going to lift our heads up as well. So lift your head up and Again, there's an impression that goes in through the abdominals, so that whatever sensitivities that have gone into the system and not gone out, which is what needs to happen, it's wonderful and appropriate and super healthy to be sensitive to receive things, as long as you let them out. Otherwise, you can't receive the next thing. The next thing gets impeded by these stored up stuffs. Let's extend the legs straight up. Head still up if you can. Breathe through your nose if you can. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft. Lower one leg, doesn't matter how much, halfway, all the way, quarter of the way. But what does matter is that you're aware of each micro moment. Do the same, swapping it round. Extending with full awareness of each micro moment. That's what makes a yoga practice. Once you've done one on each leg, the head comes down, the elbows come down, the toes only come down. I'll resist using my hybrid word tonally. Oh, I've used it. Then we're going to look up at the navel, so the heels are up, and we're looking at the Nabha chakra. That's the belly center. And Patanjali says when you have awareness of the Nabha chakra, then you know the whole body. It's kind of interesting. We're going to float the feet up, and the word float has been chosen with some care. So the legs float, and that brings a certain kind of abdominal tone. Again, it makes a deep impression. You need to use a thorn to remove a thorn. You need to use a samskara to remove samskaras. You need to use an impression to remove impressions. Once you've curled up, extend the legs straight up again, nice and slow though, so you're aware of each micro moment. And one more time, we're going to lower each leg downwards, but the skill is staying super aware of each micro moment without jumping at all, not even a second, not even a millisecond to any kind of imagined future, or even to a concept that is second order reality. We stay with first order, the direct, the immediate, now. Very tempting. I find it tempting to check out in various ways, including labeling rather than direct feeling. Head comes down, elbows come down, knees bend, feet come down. Everyone takes a deep breath in and out. Hopefully that unplugs a set of deep breaths. So a set of deep breaths, spontaneous deep breaths. We begin to feel why this yogic maxim that yoga is a closed fist moving to an open palm, why that's an accurate maxim, why that's an accurate way of looking at it, way of thinking about it. We're going to lift the pelvis, so you might want to walk your feet closer in. We're going to keep the hands behind the head, and as we lift the pelvis, we shift the pelvis left, right, up, down. It can circle, it can bounce, it can sway, it can tilt, it can shake. And the important thing is that you're not holding the breath, so bouncing, tilting, swaying, loosening, letting go. So, you can't just let go, but if something comes in, that makes it easy. That actually gives us the drive to let go. It's, all you got to do is agree, really. It's like an invitation. So as you're lifting, tilting, bouncing, swaying, swooping the pelvis to loosen the lower back muscle fibers, those sensations are going in through the muscles to the nerves. And that invites the nerves to let go, which they do via the breath. If you agree, that is. And all we need to agree is the understanding that carrying lots of stuff makes us heavy. Holding on to things veils our vision, and that we are at our most beautiful, absolutely our most beautiful, when we're open. when we're open. It just means the perception's not clouded or colored. The Sanskrit word is lesha, means like something like colored or tinted. Like wearing those sort of colored sunglasses where everything becomes biased. We want the vision to be clear. So coming down slow and easy, landing, breathing, deep, expressive, honest. As you're breathing deep, expressive, and honest, release your hands from behind your head. Lift up your feet and hug your legs. So that's simple. Give your legs a gentle hug. And a bit of rolling. You can roll left, you can roll right. See if you can find sensations that go in. And as they go in, they naturally bring up and out whatever the mind has taken hold of. All you've got to do is let that last part of the release happen. That's the person who's running the NCP car park realizing they've just got to open the exit as well as the entrance. So the entrance is the pose, right? The sensations of the pose that comes in. The exit is the breath. And all we need for that is faith. Huh? Faith, a reassurance, you could say. Hopefully I can reassure you. Letting in triggers letting out, and that agreeing to letting out allows what is coming in next to be received clearly without, there's a very famous Zen story where a Zen master meets a high-level Zen student he is, and he sees the master, and he says to the master, "I would like you to teach me, please." And he says, "Okay, well, but first tea, right? We've got to have some tea before I teach you anything." And the master starts pouring the tea into the cup, and as the disciple is watching, the master just keeps pouring, and it overflows the cup, and the student is sort of alarmed and says, "Stop, stop, it's full." And the master looks at him, I presume cheekily, and says, "You're like this cup. I can't put anything more in it. It's so full already." So that's, like the way things are. Can't get in unless you empty out. And because you never step in the same river twice, reality is always new. The best thing to do is keep letting it in, keep letting out, so that you're fresh, you're fresh, you're fresh. When ready, release back to center. Take a deep, honest breath when you're ready. Draw yourself neck soft. Particularly those two upward curves of the back, the neck and the lumbar, are relaxed. I'm not saying they don't curve, I'm just saying they're relaxed. Draw yourself, the eyes soft. We're going to come to one leg and hold that. So pull one leg towards your chest. Breathe if you can through your nose. Take expressive breaths, natural breaths, like a closed fist becoming an open palm. Lift the other leg and extend it to about 45 degrees relative to the floor. You can dorsiplantar flex your foot if you wish. Your leg can raise and descend if you wish. The head can come up if you wish. Going down, you might feel more stretch between the legs. As one leg is held in stasis, the other one stretches through to the inner groin, the lower end of the psoas. So playing with that leg, okay, and then raising it up, swapping round, hold the other leg, extend out, and again play with raising and descending. And I think particularly when you're descending, you get that, hopefully you feel that stretch, particularly if you're holding the top leg stable. That stretch feels like it's from the inner groin. So you're feeling various muscles assisting, not least the psoas is in this eccentric contraction. So it's really stretching, but it's keeping strong while it stretches. Okay, you can raise that leg all the way up, bend both legs, hold both big toes. Breathe through your nose, return your head back to the floor. I should have said that if you want a block under your head, you can have one, of course. Then we're just rolling around. If you can, open the angle at the back of the knees. Well, that can be really, really a nice release for the lower back and the tailbone. So the body holds tension all over that is a mirror of what the mind is holding, that is holding and release are both facilitated through the breath. So if there's holding in the body, there's holding in the breath. If there's release in the body, there's release in the breath. And if there's release in the body, there's release in the mind. And if there's release in the mind, there's release in the universe, because it is the mind that makes the universe. More on that from particle physics, more on that from Yogacara philosophy. But breathing and rolling. That's all we need to do. Breathing and rolling. Okay, if you're ready, you might not be yet, but when you're ready to release, go ahead and release the feet down to the floor. Love to hear everyone take a deep breath in and out, maybe even a sigh or two, really letting go. Closed fist rather becomes an open palm. Clouds clear from the blue sky. First rich golden red rays of sunlight stream across the horizon. You know, there's a sort of suddenness, isn't there? When the sun rises, you know, I'm sure you've been there waiting for the first rays of the sun. I think I had a minor flashback then to the first time I ever decided to do that. You wait for the sun to rise, and then just that second, it beams, it bolts across, it streams, it radiates across the horizon. The first beams, they're incredible. You know, it just rises and then it shoots out everywhere. It's pervasive. Beautiful. That's what yoga's like those beams radiating. Let's raise up one leg, doesn't matter which one, and you can dorsey and plantar flex the foot, and you can scrunch and unscrunch the toes, and any other movements that feel like they're useful, natural, breath-centered. When ready, heel in, toes out, cross that leg over the other one, lift the foot that's on the floor off the floor, plunge through the gap, interlace around the far shin or back thigh, or use a belt. And then the head returns back to the ground and we're rolling. And I hope you can find sensations that are adequately rich enough to knock you off your tracks. So remember, when something is rich and it comes in, when you make the present moment rich by opening up to it or just enriching it, which is kind of what we're doing with yogasana, ordinary movements enriched. And so when they're enriched, it ups the ante. It makes it even more of a sort of, demand, because the body can't follow two masters at the same time. It can't hang on to expectations of the future and ideas of the past and experience this. So if you want to experience this in a way that's peaceful and full, Shanti and Purnam, peaceful and full, then you got to let it in. Okay, nice and easy release. Both feet down and deep breaths. So really let those happen, please, if you want. That's the first rays of rich golden red sunlight streaming across the horizon when you breathe. when there's breath, when you allow it. It's like everything is pervaded with consciousness, which of course is what the sun represents in many iconographies. Consciousness itself, because it illuminates, but it also warms. Consciousness is love, and love is consciousness. I'm quoting a Buddhist friend that I had a cup of tea with, Chitramati, 3 weeks ago, who said that very thing, causing me great delight. Let's raise up the other leg, and dorsi and plantar, flex the foot, circle and half circle. Breathe through your nose, jaw soft. So moving in ways that are meditative, scrunching and unscrunching the toes and so on. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Turn the heel in, toes out, cross that leg over the other one. Lift the foot that's on the floor off the floor, plunge through the gap, interlace, and roll about. Look for sensations that knock you off your track. Remember, we're just enriching sensations. So modern postural yoga, it's just that. It's a way of enriching sensations of breathing, enriching sensations of action, ordinary stretches and movements, but enriched. Enriching sensations of speech by creating mantra, chanting mantra. Enriching sensations of thought, visualization. And so as these sensations become enriched, which you can do by upping the ante like we do in yogasana and various other disciplines I mentioned, but also they become enriched through receptivity. We become more receptive. Because all sensations are super rich if you just open up to them. And it's a two-way street. As you open up, it lets the sensation in, and then that releases whatever the mind has taken hold of that would otherwise obscure the mind. And therefore, the sensations become richer still, and the mind releases further still. So you get this profound relaxation, profound relaxation. Okay, nice and easy. Release when you're ready. Feet down. Let's all take a deep breath or two, deliberately so. So there's this encouragement to really let go, which happens through the breath. It's not intellectual, it's breath, isn't it? It's just like... And we're going to roll over. When we're ready, we're going to roll over onto our sides. We're going to extend the bottom arm to extend the bottom ribs. So you can help the bottom ribs to get longer by pressing with your hand and extending that way. And then extending your armpit as well. A bit of rolling is nicely done, just laying on the side, so we can roll forwards and we can roll backwards. And we're looking for sensations that are adequately rich, juicy, to make that impression that knocks out other impressions. And so this is the idea behind so-called mindfulness. You know, you receive, fully open up. It's called sati or smriti. You fully open up or receive the moment. And then that opens us up further. And then you add on top of that sapajanya. So sapajanya is this recognition of the way things are. So there's the receiving of the way things are, and then there's the recognition. So you recognize the way things are like change. It's like a field of subtle change. That's the sapajanya. It's not making the experience, it's observing the experience. It's recognizing the experience. Right. So you always have the the ground, the fundamental ground as sati. And then on the basis of that ground, you have sappajanya. Okay, we're going to bring the knees up. We're going to come up from the side. Nice and kind of organic, the way you move. And then rolling onto side two. Similarly, extending your bottom rib, extending your armpit, and rolling forwards and backwards. And looking for sensations that are adequately rich and intense and breath-centered and causing of sloughing off, like a snake's skin. Unless snakes slough their skin off, don't they? Because they outgrow it. You know, if they don't slough their skin off, then they're restricted in their movements. Similarly, if we don't keep sloughing our metaphorical skin off, then we become increasingly restricted in our mental ability. And even our physical body becomes restricted because it holds tensions in opposition to the way things are. So rolling, making impressions, up in the ante, increasing the richness of the moment. So it's the same thing, but you just enrich it. And as it becomes enriched, it really finds its way in, doesn't it? You can really, it moves in, and that triggers the invitation. And so let go, everything begins to release. It just gets close to the surface on its way out. And then you have to open the door or keep the door open for it to come out. Stuff comes up, it's on its way out. You've got to make sure the door's open. That means breathing. That means breathe, like the breath. Okay. Knees up. Come up. Legs out in front of you. You can sit on one or two blocks for Dandasana, which is the pose we're doing, if you want to. So you put them side by side, or if you need to, and you'll need to sit directly on two blocks like this. If we're not sitting on blocks, having drawn the buttock flesh out and back, you can't feel any lightness in the lumbar, then that's what the blocks are for. So if you're not sure if there's any lightness in the lumbar, then there's not. So either way, hands by the sides, head in line with the spine. Absolutely marvelous pose for identifying biased opinions, which themselves are stuff that got stuck in sensitive people. And the more stuff that gets stuck, the less we're able to receive, and the more our sensitivities kind of cave in on themselves. We become overly sensitive to our own thoughts and emotions, over-personalizing them because there's nothing coming in new. And then that becomes various problems. So this is a wonderful pose. So stretch your chest, arms back, tone your tummy so that as the back of the body is drawn forwards, there's a resistant force from the front that sends energy simply upwardly, which you then investigate how to move that energy gently, spaciously, upwardly, repeatedly through the central channel. Breath comes and goes, head in line with the spine, breathing through the nose, not holding the breath, eyes so soft, brain so relaxed. Wonderful for the chest muscles. They obviously accumulate a lot of tension to do with hunkering down, to do with protection, often to do with assumption. Okay. There's thousands of things to say about Dandasana. We won't pursue it anymore right now. We're going to come into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog position. Make sure everything's as it should be in terms of any tucking in that you might do. I guess if you're At home, zooming it, it might not matter one bit, what hangs out. But here in the Buddhist center, we keep a degree of decorum, if that's not an awful word. Sort of is really, isn't it? Anyway, but you know what I mean. Keep a little bit of... So as not to shock any Buddhists that might stroll into the room, keep ourselves wrapped up. And then we're simply getting the palms to touch the floor. So that's a meditation, isn't it? I like to sort of sway around because what isn't useful is to force, like decide a thing and then make it happen and ignore everything. That wouldn't allow anything to come up and out. But if you sway, if you imagine your palms to be like little lights that can be lit up as they touch the floor, and eventually you want every single part of each palm to be illuminated in that way, as if there were hundreds of little lights over every single particle of the palms. But to get them to touch the floor fully, every single one simultaneously, you got to build it up bit by bit. This part, then that part, then the other part. And it's all done with calmness, always all done with calmness. We want to stretch through the lower back, reiteratively. Coming down to kneeling and sitting up. Obviously, a block can be placed between the heels and buttocks. A roll-up blanket can be placed under the front ankles. The breath should come and go naturally. Expressive, honest, natural, easeful, calm, rolling on the shins. Letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go. Now, we're going to take, if you've got one, a brick block. Regular blocks can be used as well instead of a brick block. I'm rolling up my sleeves, which normally means I mean business. We're going to perch ourselves up on the brick block. That's already beneficial. So, whatever happens from here on in, you're already a winner. Because it helps release your tailbone, it helps stretch the back muscles, helps stretch the calcaneus tendons. It's really good. So, and because all we need is to enrich the sensation and breathe into it, to cause this flushing through of the nervous system known as nadi shodhana, we can happily stay with this station. Another station, if you might be interested in taking it, is to bring the arms forwards and then push them up and back against the shins. That enriches, in a wonderful way, the stretches of the back, but also adds more stretch to the groin. The lower end of the psoas gets really extended back. So that's super beneficial. So that's a sensation you stay with and breathe into. Or occasionally some people get this sort of urge to lean forwards a little bit. And then there's another urge that often comes to kind of want to push up and maybe even to lift up. So it's a bakasana. It's optional. One way or the other. We're coming out. Well done. Very good. Nice and easy. Putting the block to one side. A little bit of luxury is called for, I think. And we're going to take that luxury in the form of a blanket. Here at the BBC, we have these marvelous Indian cotton blankets, blue. Other colors are available, I believe. At home, we have white ones. Not such a good idea. You can get orange ones. I don't know why I'm telling you all the colors. It's filling in time. Burgundy ones I've seen. And gray. Those are all the colors I've seen. We're going to sit in Dandasana. Same rule applies for before. If you can't feel any lightness in the lumbar, then you sit on the block. But With the block this time, if you are sitting on a block, you draw one end back. Right? So it's skewy. Once you're sitting on a block or straight on the floor, the same side you drew back is the same leg you take back. And it either comes somewhere along, usually it comes somewhere along the opposite thigh, or occasionally it can come, if you draw your knee back, into the top of its own thigh. So then the knee is pointing backwards. You might want to use a pata, because we're going to lift and turn and soften. The skill is to soften that which is behind you, your leg, your knee, your hip, the buttock, through the breath. So softening means letting go. Letting go, sometimes, there's some doubt, some samshaya around letting go, because some of the things that will come up to be released are things that we might think, well, I've got to store that because, I've got to stay angry about such and such a person at work or, in politics or whatever. If I don't stay angry, then they'll never learn. I can't just let it go. So that's a pet peeve, isn't it? We let go of pet peeves. Or, things we think, oh, I made a mistake. I can't let go of that. I've got to keep, so I don't make it again. That was awful. I wish that hadn't happened the way that it happened. Embarrassed and so on. But actually, you never step in the same river twice, and just carrying stuff over like that doesn't help you engage. And normally, when we've made a mistake, it's because we were in some way preconditioned, in some way, as a result, blinded to the way things are. So the remedy isn't to keep carrying things over, but to let go. And the pose beautifully asks that. And then our experience becomes absolutely full of consciousness, which is the same as love. Again, I'm quoting Chitramati, whose birthday it was when I saw him. Happy birthday for then, back in the past. We're going to take the belt around the foot, unless it's easy to hold the foot without closing the spaciousness of the anterior spinal column. In other words, the sushumna, the central channel. Keep softening inside the knee capsule on the back leg. Keep softening. There's a little muscle in there, the popliteus. Inflammation of that muscle, even a tiny bit of inflammation in that muscle, can cause difficulty and pain in the knee. It can cause secondary issues for meniscal sensation. So as people get older, it's pretty likely that there's going to be little tears in the meniscus. It's just what happens. Not a problem if there's no pain produced by it. And there's less likely to be any pain reduced if the popliteus muscle is soft. So soften the inside of the knee. It's a little knee flexing muscle, rather cute. So it's a little muscle that helps to bend the knee. Over time, maybe the breath releases with the body releases with the breath. And it maybe one moves into the spaces, but we're not moving without the spaces being created. The space comes, we slip into it naturally. So, years ago now, on the old Vajrasati yoga flyers, used to have this moving in and letting go. Always on the flyers, rather nice flyers. I've still got them in my scrapbook if you want to see them. But you could reverse it, letting go and moving in, doesn't matter, moving, it's like one thing. So you enrich a sensation, that's like moving in, that causes letting go. So you only move in as the release comes, but as we move in, it triggers more release. You got to let that happen with the breath. Calmly coming up without any haste. Important not to have any haste. Extend out your legs. Draw the butterfly out and back. If you're sitting on a block, don't forget to pull it back for the other side. Just making room for the foot as it comes back, essentially. And then when ready, if ready, you bring the other leg back. Similarly, somewhere along the inner thigh, or possibly pulling back so far that the knee points backwards, and that might enable the heel to come into the very top of its own thigh. That just ups the ante on the stretch of the psoas from the back leg through the deep belly into the sides of the lower spine on the back side of the body. So that starts with releasing the leg. Again, you can use a belt at the time that feels appropriate. Maybe you want to stay with your fingers on the floor for a while. You're right not to want to move in until there's letting go, which is psychophysical. And then the moving in takes place, and then it triggers this beautiful cycle of moving in, letting go. I'm old enough now to have accrued many metaphors for the same thing, always the same thing. I always think it's new, but then I think, oh, that's what I used to say. Because, the truth is just the truth, isn't it? There's no really, you can't reinvent the wheel. So, one of them that you've heard so many times is the metaphor of the canoe being tied up, someone trying to paddle it, getting nowhere, untying it, one stroke of the oar, and they float off easy. So untying means letting go of the back of the pose in this scenario. So that means the meditative release of the inside of the knee capsule, which will be accompanied by mental release and a respiratory release. And you never step in the same river twice. There's nothing that's useful to carry over. It just isn't. Stuff that's carried over simply serves to obscure the mind. That's all. It's whatever you think, you never step in the same river twice. That, of course, is Heraclitus. The Buddhist philosopher Nagarjuna might have said something even a bit more radical. He might have said, we never even step in the same river once. But for more on that, we'll have to have more time. Simply because he would say that there is no river, I better not start, actually, on Nagarjuna's philosophy. Okay, calmly coming up when you're ready, extending out your leglets, drawing the body flesh out and back, placing, if you're sitting on a block, the block straight ahead. You don't have to be on a block if you find yourself sitting up tall and light without it. Fingers by the hips or thighs, so you've got lightness. Visualize and feel the thighs dropping as you lift up and tilt forward. As you tilt the pelvis forwards, imagine that the thighs are dropping, which you've got to understand is psychophysical, respiratory. So it's whatever the mind's taken hold of. It's not a case of some things being bad and we've got to get rid of them from the mind, and some things being good and we've got to keep those. It's whatever. Good and bad doesn't matter here. Whatever the mind's taken hold of. Expectations. Like something good might have happened. Sukhanushayi ragaha, Patanjali says. Sukhanushayi. Something good, something nice happens. And then that creates craving, which is a sort of reaching out. So you got to let go of that. Oh, that was so nice yesterday. I want it to happen again today. But today, you're not going to step in the same river. Today's today. It's new. And that's just the way it is. There's no point railing against it. You can hold your feet or use a belt. This, of course, is the Paschimottanasana, also known as Ugrasana, also known as Brahmacharyasana. Visualize and feel the thighs drop out of your way. Okay. Coming up calmly, the thighs still dropping, breath nice and easy. You wanna? Let's go. Shavasana. If your back feels a little tight, do it with bent legs. If your back still feels tight with bent legs, pop a block under your pelvis with bent legs for a moment or two if your back feels tight, until that releases, and then you can remove the block. Total release of the total weight of the limbs through the breath. Total release of the total weight of the limbs through the breath. And there's a relationship between heavy and light. The heavier the body, the lighter the mind. It's like the mind expands completely. Heavier the body, the lighter the mind. Now a little wiggle of your tootsies, and you'll feel energy spread through the sacrum, the back of the pelvis, through the pelvis itself, through both buttocks, through the lower tummy, through the very part of the lower back, through the legs, through the knees to the toes. So wiggle your toes and feel all that energy back in front of the pelvis, through the legs, flooding and merging and pervading. Similarly with the fingers, move the fingers, and you'll feel energy spreading through your chest, left and right sides, shoulder blades, elbows, lower tummy, lower back, neck. Everything moves when you move your fingers and toes together. You feel all that energy moving. And then eventually you'll feel natural and happy to bend your legs, place the soles of the feet on the floor, scoot the buttocks under, and with a really deep breath, let go completely the lower back. Maybe there'll be 2 or 3 of those. Lovely, 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 lovely deep breaths. And then when ready, roll onto your side, facing away from the shrine side of the room and lay as comfortably as you can. Knees drawn up. Rolling back slowly towards the shrine side of the room. Letting in light and color. Easily bringing yourself up from the side. And comfortable seated position with your hands in a prayer position. May any benefit that we've gained in our acting in this way go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings. Om. Thanks, Roomers. Thanks, Zoomers. And any Pumas as well that might have come to the class. Thanks so much, guys. Great to see you. See you really soon. So much love. Thanks, guys.